On Wednesday morning, Member of Parliament Sylvia Matser was arrested around 8 a.m. He was therefore not in a position to be present in Parliament to participate in the meeting to approve the draft 2016 budget, which had reached its end phase in Parliament. The meeting was scheduled to start at 10 a.m., but at 10:30, 30 minutes after, only 7 members supporting the coalition signed in, while the other 7 didn't sign in. The meeting could therefore not continue as it had no quorum. An approved budget is extremely important to the people of St. Martin. The draft budget has already been provisionally vetted by the CFT, and all preliminary suggestions and recommendations made by the CFT have been incorporated in the budget. The draft budget is balanced, and so far no member of Parliament has brought forward any arguments why the draft budget could and or would not have their support. It is important that St. Martin has an approved budget as soon as possible, and in doing so, comply with the Kingdom instruction that has been imposed against the former government of St. Martin by the Kingdom Council of Ministers in 2015. If the budget is approved, it will enable the government to not only be able to properly run the day-to-day affairs of the people, but it will also make it possible for the government to invest more than 55 million guilders into the economy of St. Martin. We will be able to provide more jobs, create new jobs for young people, repair roads and general infrastructure, improve the traffic circulation, build classrooms, and upgrade our sporting facilities, connect homes to the sewage plant, and increase the GDP of St. Martin significantly, and do much more. In 2015, no new capital expenditures could have been made because the CFT did not approve the 2015 draft budget because it contained unrealistic income projections. That is not the case with the budget of 2016. Anyone who therefore obstructs the approval of the 2016 budget stands in the way of it being passed, or who do not support the balanced draft 2016 budget does not really care about the welfare or the future of St. Martin and its people. To avoid a prolonged delay in the handling of the draft budget, an attempt was made to get the support from MP Lloyd Richardson. Why did we seek the support of MP Lloyd Richardson? If we look at the presentation that he made in the first round, it was kind of indicative to someone, a member of Parliament, who was prepared to support the budget. If we go back in history, when MP Lloyd Richardson was a member of the National Alliance faction, he at that time crossed party lines and supported the budget of the government at that time. So it was prudent for us to seek his support. Contact was made by at least 2 members of Parliament who approached him, and while having lunch with one of the other ministers, I got a call that they have contacted MP Lloyd Richardson and that he would call me. When he called me, he told me, I asked him, when can we meet? He said that he is at home and I can meet him at home. When we got home, at his home, he came into the car and we drove off. While driving and talking, he said, let's drive up to Point Blanche. And when we got there, he said, pull up next to the freezer as the leader of the party, Theo Heiliger, would join us. I was driving and I drove the car up to further into Point Blanche. The drive did not last too long because, as I indicated, I was seeking support for the budget. At no time did I made any proposal or request to form a government, to form a new government, or to form a broad-based government. Why? Because there is a government in place. What we do not have is a balanced budget as yet approved by Parliament. What we do not have is a majority in Parliament at this point in time so that the meeting can continue. One of the proposals that was brought forward by the leader of the UP party was to have a national government and to ensure that a national government and to not hold elections until 2018 because that would then enable government to do all the things that need to be done, pursue electoral reform, balanced budgets, complete building, etc., etc. I did not respond as they were also talking with the other minister, not that I didn't hear. At some point in time, another proposal was thrown out because I said, guys, all we really want is for support so that the meeting can continue and the budget can be balanced. The next proposal then is, okay, what if we support the budget and you guys dissolve Parliament immediately thereafter? The next proposal that came to the table, if you want to call it that, let's have, since the Prime Minister is talking about constitutional change, not constitutional change, electoral reform and stop ship jumping, the Prime Minister said that governments should be formed by political parties. Let us form a government consisting of the National Alliance, the DP, the USP, and the UP. The other minister who was with me then said, you guys are going around and round about things. You're throwing out all kinds of proposals. What is it you really want? And then they said, well, if we form such a government, we would then keep out all the independent members. So we would have a government formed only by the political parties. And then the UP would want to have the Ministry of Romi and the Ministry of Tiat. That is the only time that I really reacted in a certain sense, and my reaction was a loud laughter. And I said, you guys can't be serious. I said, you seem to want the whole government, and all we want is support for the budget. By then, I had driven back down to Intamar. I drove in the yard and tell them, I guess you are coming out here. And he said, don't worry, he will take MP Lloyd Richardson back to Saunders. And we joked about something, and I drove off. I want to make it clear, because today I heard all kinds of remarks I understood were being made, and on a program people were calling in. I want to make it abundantly clear. There is a government in place. At no point in time that I made any attempt to form any government, not a new one, not a former one, not a broad-based one, and not one leaving out the independent members, not one leaving out anybody. I have initiated no discussion to form a government. I have not been involved in any negotiations to form a government, and it is not the intention or the desire at this point in time of the present coalition to branch off or to form any new government. MP Sylvia Matza is presently arrested. The case is not clear to, I believe, anybody as to exactly what the details of it are. But one of the things that I think is unfortunate, the manner in which all of this has happened, and when I say the manner, it is known to everybody. It is known to everybody within the kingdom that the budget of St. Martin is presently being debated and being handled. It should be known to everyone who has a serious stake and or interest in St. Martin that on Wednesday, most likely the budget debate would have come to an end, as there were only 9 members of parliament who had written in to speak. And if they used their half an hour, each of them, their questions would have lasted no more than 5 hours. You would then get the answers from the members of the Council of Ministers and a vote on the budget. It is therefore interesting to see that the Attorney General gave instructions for this arrest to take place on that particular morning, making it impossible for the government of St. Martin to finalize the handling of the budget. What would be customary? What would be customary that the Minister of Justice would receive a phone call prior to the arrest being conducted, informing him of what will be going down. In a case like this, you have 2 interests that plays: the national interest of the country and the interest, of course, of proper due process, if there is a criminal case, if there's a criminal investigation, whatever else they are doing in terms of conducting their business, because the Attorney General cannot be separated from the overall functioning and interest of a country. Had that arrest taken place the night after the vote or the next morning after the vote, today St. Martin would have had a balanced budget approved in Parliament, and governance could continue in a certain sense uninterrupted. There is an instruction given by the Kingdom Council of Ministers to St. Martin, and in order for that instruction to be removed and lifted, balancing the budget is one of the requirements. Solving the problem of the outstanding debt to SZV and to the pension fund is one of the other issues that form part of balancing the budget, making sure that the payment, the deficits of the previous years is taken care of. So it is therefore incomprehensible to me, and to all actually, what was the real motive for the arrest to be made on that particular morning and in the manner in which it was done, seemingly, I'm not accusing anyone of anything, that the procedures to arrest or to start an investigation against a member of parliament seemingly were not properly conducted. But even if they were, could it not have waited 1 extra day or 2 extra days? Now we have the national interest. Having a balanced budget is being put aside for the interest of the Attorney General to proceed with arresting someone against whom an investigation supposedly started way back in 2014, completed way back in 2015, and only on that particular morning an arrest can be made. And not only that, then to add insult to injury, telling the government and the people of St. Martin, oops, we didn't realize that the budget handling was in process. And then the question would be, so had you known that the budget was being handled that day, would you have postponed the arrest until the handling? Because if that is the case, then it strengthens even more what we have been saying all along, that St. Martin needs its own Attorney General who lives on St. Martin and who knows what happens on St. Martin. Because if the Attorney General can use an excuse, it is not political. because we did not even know Parliament was handling its budget, then it is clear that the Attorney General living on Curaçao has no interest or is not paying sufficient interest to what is happening on St. Martin. So therefore, again, what the government wants is for sense to prevail. We know politically it is a juicy situation that you have, a standoff that was not created by those in opposition. It's a standoff that has been created because of one member not being able to participate in the meetings. We don't know yet for how long. And this is seemingly now being used to drag on and prolong the handling and the completion of the budget and having a draft budget. So we look forward to this problem being resolved as soon as possible. Monday understood that the chair of Parliament requested a central faction leaders meeting to discuss the way forward. And of course, one can say, we will sign in order to have the meeting continue, but then if it is that when it comes to a vote, that we are going to have 7 votes for and 7 votes against, we would only then clear one hurdle of completing the handling of the budget, but we would still not be able to have an approved budget. So we hope this would come to an end soon, because it is not in the interest of St. Martin, it is not in the interest of the people of St. Martin, and it is only damaging to St. Martin, and we hope this will come to an end as soon as possible.
Our society is made up of morals and values. What do we mean by morals and values? Morals are also called principles. Morals are habits with respect to right or wrong conduct. Morality is ultimately a personal compass of right and wrong. Values are standards or ideals. Values are important and lasting beliefs shared by the members of a culture about what is good or bad and desirable or undesirable. Values have major influence on a person's behavior and attitude and serve as broad guidelines in all situations. One important result of morals and values is integrity. Without morals and values, there can be no integrity. The word integrity is much used in our society of late. That is understandable, because integrity is one of the main building blocks of a well-functioning democracy. Without integrity, corruption can take hold of a community. Corruption is defined by Transparency International as the abuse of entrusted power for private gain. The gain can be either financial or non-financial. In a worst-case scenario, extreme corruption could lead to poverty and could be the cause of hardship. An impoverished community can quickly turn chaotic and unstable. This scenario should make it clear that the fight against corruption is necessary. More importantly, every one of us, as citizens, must take responsibility for this fight. We should all be concerned about the spread of corruption, which can be compared to a virus capable of crippling government, discrediting public institutions and private corporations, as well as having a devastating impact on the human rights of populations.
I do not have any clarity as to what is taking place. I do not want to get involved in how a case is being handled. We have a Minister of Justice who has his responsibilities. We have our systems in place that handle, that have their responsibilities, and mine is not to question the Attorney General on how he did his job or he didn't do his job. What I am saying, and I would, I'm on record saying it, things have been done in a manner that makes one frown and wonder what is going on. I'm sure the MP has his legal defense team, and from, I do not have a link with anyone to know what is going on, but from what I'm hearing too, and I don't think is right for a society, and for sure not the Prime Minister to engage in he say, they say, and I heard rumors, but there are things that we are here that the attorney did not get any documentation on what his client is being accused of or what it is taking place. So all I'm saying is it reinforces what we have been calling for is an attorney general who lives on St. Martin and who is part of the St. Martin society, even though it might be someone or would have to be someone for now who is flown in most likely from the Netherlands to be Attorney General, but it would be one who then wakes up every morning and listens to the St. Martin radio stations, read the newspapers on St. Martin, and see the situation on St. Martin and not have to deal with Curaçao, Sabre Station, and St. Martin all at the same time, and then would have to say, oops, I didn't realize this was going down. I'm not going to be sidetracked now by all kind of other issues. There are some issues that I wanted to put on the table, and one of them is the urgency of a vote on the budget and in a certain way make some statements on the situation. Other than that, I don't want to get into an argument or a fight with anybody at this point in time, and I don't want us to get sidetracked in whether we should go to the United Nations, to the Decolonization Committee, whether we should talk about the need for a dispute regulation at this point in time. I don't want to get sidetracked from the issues that are on the table, and one of them is also to dispel any notion that Prime Minister William Marlin, whether in his capacity as Prime Minister or whether in his capacity as leader of the National Alliance, did not engage in any discussions and or negotiations aimed at forming any government, because there is one in place.
Thank you.
Yeah, one question. Looking a bit further down the road, there could be a scenario whereby Matsar gets suspended as Member of Parliament when he goes into pre-trial detention. Have you thought about reaching out to Maria Bunkamp-Molanes, who would then take that seat?
When you reach a certain bridge, you cross it and you deal with it. There is no need now to enter in any discussions about what will happen. When I say enter into any discussions, I don't want to make the public believe that there is of course there is always a potential risk for anything. There's a potential risk for a member of parliament supporting the government to not support the government. There's a potential that someone who is presently in opposition might reach out to the present government and say, I like the job you guys are doing, I like the direction we are heading into, and this country cannot undergo any further turmoil, so let me lend support to this government. There are many possibilities. So we can start talking about things that are not yet there, and therefore we will only deal with the issues as they are. There is a coalition, there is a government, and one member of the coalition is presently not able to attend meetings because of the circumstances, but those circumstances could change by this evening. They can change within a week. No, I said it makes one frown. It makes one frown at the circumstances under which these things have happened. It's difficult for me to believe that an Attorney General did not know that the budget of St. Martin was being handled on that day. And if a call was made to the authorities on St. Martin to say, yes, go ahead, or the call was made from St. Martin to the Attorney General and say, we are ready, then those making the call from St. Martin then should have known the repercussions this would have. Because everybody throughout the kingdom know that the government of St. Martin is supported by 8 members in a parliament of 15, and we have a 1-seat majority. Anytime one of those seats is not present in parliament, you run a serious risk that, and in particular with the handling of a budget, that budget would not pass. So if the initiative to make the move came out of St. Martin, then those making that call to the Attorney General to say we are ready, then are not in sync, or, and I'm saying that makes one frown, and I don't want to, again, spend the rest of the afternoon dwelling on this. I am saying it is not right. The interest of this country cannot be put on the back burner or in second place because there's a member of parliament who was on the investigation going back to 2 years ago, whose case, the investigation was completed some 10 months ago, that now on the date that you're going to handle a budget, it becomes more important to arrest that person than to allow the person to complete his responsibility towards the country in ensuring that there is a balanced budget, and then let the chips fall where they may, because I'm not saying because it is a member of parliament supporting the coalition that it should be hands off until the election. No. If you have a case, you have to do your work. But in doing your work, the other day, I'm coming to work. I was going not to work, I was going to an event, and I was coming into Phillipsburg. And even though I was driving with the security detail and the black car with the siren, at a given moment, there was a parade coming up on the Pondfield. Now, we had two choices. Say, well, hey, this is the Prime Minister, so pull aside. But we chose to go around Soccer Garden, even though we were kind of, it would have delayed arriving in Phillipsburg where we were going with 5 minutes, but no problem, because the interest of a bigger group was more important than the Prime Minister arriving exactly on time for an event that was scheduled for 7 o'clock or for 4 o'clock or whenever it was. So the interest of St. Martin, having the budget balanced, having the instruction given by the kingdom government to St. Martin, that was being put aside because the Attorney General felt it was more important on that day to arrest a member of parliament. And then when we hear legal opinions about whether procedures were followed or whether it was done right, I happened to be in parliament that same day when a team came to search the office of the member of parliament, but seemingly didn't have a search warrant, and decided that they wanted to seal it afterwards to ensure that nobody would go in until they actually get a search warrant. The same you hear happened at the home. So I'm saying I don't want to start and compound any gossip because I think the Prime Minister should deal with facts. And the fact that I'm putting is I have frowned on the fact that on the day the budget will be handled, that the arrest was made.